Welcome back, my dear students. Today we are going to uncover the molecular mechanism of hormone action, the secret language through which hormones communicate with our cells. We will explore how different hormones recognize their target cells, bind to specific receptors, and triggers a series of molecular events that control vital body functions. By the end of this session, you will clearly understand how hormones act as chemical messengers, converting a tiny molecular signal into powerful physiological responses that keep our body balanced and alive. So, mechanism of action of non-steroidal, that is protein or polypeptide hormones. Storage and synthesis. Most hormones in our body are proteins or polypeptides in nature. They are basically made inside endocrine cells on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, just like other proteins. Firstly, they are formed as inactive large molecules called pre-prohormones. These are later converted into prohormones and finally into active hormones in the Golgi apparatus. The active hormones are then packed in secretory vesicles and stored in the cytoplasm until needed. Secretion, that is release of hormones. When the body needs these hormones, the vesicles fuse with the cell membrane and release the hormones into the blood or interstitial fluid by a process called exocytosis. The trigger for secretion is usually an increase in calcium ions, that is Ca2 plus inside the cell, or a rise in cyclic AMP or CAMP levels that activate protein kinases. Why they need receptors? Basically, these proteins or peptide hormones are water soluble but cannot pass through the lipid membrane of target cells. Hence, they act by binding to receptors present on the cell surface or plasma membrane. The hormone then acts as the first messenger and triggers internal changes through a second messenger system inside the cell. Stepwise mechanism using cyclic AMP as second messenger. Firstly, hormone binding. The hormone or the first messenger firstly binds to a specific receptor on the target cell membrane. Then activation of G protein. The receptor then activates a G protein which in turn activates the enzyme adenylate cyclase. The formation of second messenger, then adenylate cyclase converts ATP into cyclic AMP or CAMP, the second messenger. Activation of protein kinase, then CAMP activates protein kinases, enzymes that add phosphate groups or phosphorylation to other proteins. Cellular response, these phosphorylated proteins bring about specific physiological effects such as glycogen breakdown by means of epinephrine, fat breakdown, and increased enzyme or protein synthesis, etc. Turning off the signal, the enzyme phosphodiesterase breaks down cyclic AMP, stopping the signal once the hormone is no longer bound. Amplification effect. A single hormone molecule can activate many G protein, and each G protein activates many adenylate cyclase molecules. This causes the production of thousands of cyclic AMP molecules, each activating multiple kinases, resulting in huge amplification of the signal. So, example include one example of epinephrine can lead to the breakdown of millions of glycogen molecules into glucose. So, what are the examples of hormone acting as second messengers? Increased cyclic AMP, epinephrine, glucagon, STH, TSH, ADH, hypothalamic releasing hormone, they increase cyclic AMP. Growth hormone inhibiting hormone, that is GHIH, decrease cyclic AMP. And other second messengers such as cyclic GMP, IP3, DAG, calcium 2 plus, they act as other second messengers. So now we should study mechanism of action of steroidal or lipid soluble hormones. Entry into target cell, that is the first point. Lipid soluble hormones like steroid hormones like cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, and thyroid hormones can easily pass through the plasma membrane. Receptor binding. Inside the target cell, they bind to specific receptors located in the cytoplasm or nucleus. The hormone receptor complex then binds to specific regions on the DNA and influences gene expression. Gene activation. The hormone receptor complex turns certain genes on or off in the DNA. This leads to the formation of messenger RNA or mRNA from the activated genes. protein synthesis, the mRNA then moves to ribosome in the cytoplasm and directs the synthesis of new proteins or enzymes. These newly formed proteins bring about specific physiological responses such as growth and repair by growth hormone and steroid hormones, regulation of metabolism by means of thyroid hormones, sexual development by means of sex hormones. So, firstly, what happens? The steroid hormone diffuses through the plasma membrane and binds an intracellular receptor. Then the receptor hormone complex enters the nucleus. The receptor hormone complex then binds a hormone-specific element, a specific DNA sequence. This binding initiates a transcription of the gene to mRNA. Then the mRNA directs further protein synthesis. So my dear students, today we explored how hormones communicate with their target cells through precise molecular mechanism, from receptor binding to signal transduction and cellular response. We learned how water-soluble and lipid-soluble hormones use different pathways to control physiological functions. If you enjoyed understanding how these tiny messengers orchestrate complex processes, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more such engaging biology lessons. See you in the next class, and as always, stay curious and keep exploring the wonders of life. Thank you.